Bonjour, bonjour, everybody. Hello, hello. Here on a beautiful, gorgeous, sunny morning here in Paris. It is a little chilly, but who cares when it looks like this? So gorgeous. Yesterday it was not as gorgeous, so today we're pretty happy about this. And it's early. It's actually Saturday morning that I'm recording this because I have been so busy with clients, so I haven't been able to do this for you for a few weeks. But I thought, let's leave Notre Dame and let's go outside. So today I am right outside the Musée d'Orsay, and I'm going to give you a few fun little things around the outside of the museum. And I give you a special little treat of the inside when nobody is there before it opens to the public. And I say that as hopefully because it is early and sometimes they don't always open on time. But as a member, you get to go in half an hour before the general public does. And depending on where you are, you could extend that half hour to about an hour, hour and a half by yourself inside. Depending on where you go. But the building itself, it used to, if you ever look at the outside of it, many people might already know this, but it used to be a train station. So, but before that, going back even farther, in the 16th century, this was where Margaret de Valois moved. She moved over here to this area, not the building, but in this area after her divorce from Henry IV, or annulment of their marriage. And she couldn't get pregnant, and he was getting everybody pregnant, so she couldn't give him an heir to the throne. So she lived over here, but she lived in a really very big area of Saint-Germain. We are on the left bank. And so she lived here for quite a long time. And then it was much later, they ended up taking all that down and building all these houses around here. And then in 1810, an emperor by the name of Napoleon decided to have a building created here, the Palais d'Orsay as it was known. And it took until 1838 to be finished because in 1814, 1815, he was out of here, so everything kind of stalled for a bit. But the Palais d'Orsay was a really beautiful building, and it was destroyed in 1871 during the Commune, during the Bloody Week, and it stood until 1898 when it was fully taken down and destroyed. And then after that, they built a train station. So the train station went up in under 2 years because the inside of this building is iron. So it came together very, very quickly. But the outside of it was covered in stone, so it would blend into the neighborhood buildings. And I'll show you on the other side how that kind of works. So it does look like it is more the age of the buildings in the surrounding neighborhood. But what I love about this is a lot of it's retained. So that you have the clocks, and of course there's the clock on the upper floor that everybody loves to go and it's turned into a bit of a selfie station, which I don't love because it used to be that everybody could just walk up and look out the window and catch the view. Now people line up for photos, but just if you are in line for a photo, I will just walk up and look out the window because that's not what it's for. It's not a selfie station, which is what everything in this world these days is coming to. Just don't get me started. But it is a beautiful building, and you can see on the outside, you see where it says Bordeaux, Toulouse, Nantes. So this is where this train station serviced that area of France. So you have the Loire, the Paris-Orléans route. So it was also, at the time, it was the only train station that was built in the center of the city. Most of the train stations are out farther. So you have, Gare du Nord, Montparnasse. They're all just pushed out a tiny bit. But after, it wasn't a train station for very long because the trains, in a matter of under 12 years, the trains got very long. So the trains could not stop and fully stop inside the train station because they were too long and the back of the train would be hanging out the end. So it slowly was decommissioned as a train station, and they did use it World War II, at the end of World War II. They used it to bring back people from the camps. and they used to take the trains to take food and stuff down to people on the, on the front that were fighting. So it did get used a tiny bit as a train station. But then over many, many years, for over 30 years, it just became, they used it as a film studio. It became like squatters and artist colony, all sorts of stuff. And then in 1977, they decided they needed to have something a little bit larger for the Impressionist collection, which had been, of course, in the Louvre, and then it was put into the Jeu de Paume, which is just across from us. There's the Tuileries on the other side of us. So the building you could see kind of poking up over the bridge, that is the Orangerie, so that's in Musée de l'Orangerie. But on the opposite side of that, to the north, is the Jeu de Paume. And the Jeu de Paume, of course, is where my favorite lady, Rose Valland, was during World War II. But that's where you would find the Impressionists. So they decided they needed a bigger space, so they decided this would be it. So the Musée d'Orsay picks up where the Louvre leaves off in 1848. So they decided in 1977 to do this, and it opened on October 9th, 1986. I rarely talk about anything in the 20th century, so it's hard for me to say 19. But it is an amazing museum. Most people know it as the Impressionist Museum, but it is 1848 to 1918. After that, you have the Pompidou. It has a lot more. There's a lot of Second Empire, the whole top floor, most of the top floor. They've actually reduced the size of it. There was a large room at the end that used to be also Impressionist, but it's now turned into Van Gogh because he needed a bigger space. So the Impressionist collection, what's on view, is actually seems to just keep getting smaller and smaller. They do fantastic exhibits in here. I'm going to pop in today to see one of the new exhibits that just opened as well. But it's a perfect time to do this because look, there's everybody out running. It's quiet. The streets are quiet. It's my favorite time to be out and about in Paris. But I'm going to take you over here to the bridge and show you somebody Americans will definitely recognize. Can't get a much better view than this. Got the Louvre there on the left. You can see the towers of Notre Dame far down there. The dome of the Institut de France, the spire of Saint-Chapelle, and the Orsay on the right. I am on the Passerelle Leopold Sédar Senghor. It's named after a Senegalese gentleman that was the president of Senegal. He ended up coming to France, and this is where he died, December 20th, 2001. He was a member of the French Academy. He was a massive Francophile, loved everything about France. So as a honor on what would have been his 100th birthday, on October 9th, 2006, they renamed this bridge for him. This is a passerelle, so that means it's a footbridge. So cars cannot come on here. There's 3 passerelles in the city, but the Pont des Arts is also a footbridge, but it's called a Pont Bridge. But this guy's having a good time. But it's a really beautiful bridge, and it's really beautiful how it's done. The original bridge that was here was 1861 by Napoleon III. It links the Tuileries straight across there, and it was known as the Solferino Bridge. And then it was removed in 1961. A bridge was built here, and then this one dates back to 1997. It won all sorts of different architectural awards, and it is really beautiful. It is a metal frame, so it was actually brought in and put together pretty quickly, and then it's made of African wood. So I don't know why they don't use this as the wood they should use on Pont des Arts, because this one lasts a whole lot longer. But what I love is how the steps go down, so you hook up to the upper part of the quay, and then you also could go down into the lower. And so right here it looks like a ramp, but as you go down, it gets a little bit wider and turns into steps. So it really is a beautiful bridge. And on the other side, you see the Grand Palais, you see the Musée de l'Orangerie, and then you can see way down there the beautiful golden toppers of the Pont Alexandre III. But it's a really great bridge. I would say this bridge between here and Pont Neuf, I think, are the best bridges for views. because you are right here in the central part. So for sunrises and sunsets, I think these are the bridges you want to have, especially if you go down a little further and then you actually see the Eiffel Tower in there. But as you can see, we're finally getting, leaves are coming back. We still don't have, cherry blossoms are getting very close. I found a tiny blossoms on a tree I walked past this morning, but we still don't have the big burst. But we're supposed to have lots of sun this week, so I think they're going to come out here any time now. But I do just love this bridge. This is another bridge that used to be covered with those horrible locks, and they took all of the metal grid walls off of here and replaced it with this glass, which is much better. But it's a pretty wide bridge, but it is really beautiful. And I love the morning because you can see everybody out and about. They will have, and down below, they have like little workout classes. So you'll hear, there'll be people down there boxing. That guy's using one of the mooring rings as lifting some weights down there. But you could walk, I love doing this when it gets nicer, walking all the way down towards the Eiffel Tower and back. Look at the colors, look at that green and the blue. I mean, how beautiful of a morning is this? So let me take you here to meet somebody you will all know. This gentleman here is, of course, Thomas Jefferson. And old TJ, of course, was a ambassador to France. And sometimes there's graffiti on it, but here he is. The statue was done by Jean Cardot in 2006. He also did, just not very far from here, by the Petit Palais, he also did the one of Charles de Gaulle and also Winston Churchill. But you could see TJ here. Oh, and my favorite thing is about this is this parchment. If you could see it, on there is a drawing of Monticello, first project of Monticello. And that is because TJ, is looking over here. And this building over here is the Hotel Salm, built in 1781. So it would have been, TJ would have been here and he would see this building, and this inspired him for what he wanted Monticello to look like. And if you've been there, I remember going there and I don't know, 13, 14 years old and seeing it. And I don't remember if they told us that at the time, probably not. But I wanted to actually go there a couple years ago when I was in DC, but I didn't realize how far away it actually is from DC. And but it is a really gorgeous place. But this Hotel de Salm, built in 1781 by Frederick III of Salm, Cherbourg, and the architect Pierre Rousseau. Frederick was killed in the Revolution, beheaded the same day as the husband of Josephine. But this is so shiny. But it's a really beautiful building. It is now holds the Legion of Honor. So the Legion of Honor, you see the Grand Chancellor here, and they have all of the military weapons on here. The Legion of Honor was created under Napoleon in 1802, and he created all these different ranks. And then he wore his first emblem, the first one that he created, he wore it to his coronation. It was the first time anybody had seen it. This is a place you can, there's a museum here, but the rest of the building you can only go in once a year. And that is during Patrimoine in September. If you've watched me or followed me for some time, you will know it's my favorite weekend of the year, third weekend of September. And I went inside a couple years ago, and it's really beautiful. But in 1871, there was a horrible fire with when the Palais d'Orsay was burnt down. It also got part of this building. Not all of it was destroyed, but a good portion of it was destroyed, and they had to have it rebuilt. But it is a beautiful building. So the parts you can see right here on the right, this is part, like there's beautiful rooms in there that they'll use like for ceremonial rooms. And then on this side over here, you have the museum, and it's a really cool museum. It's free. It is has the strangest hours though, because it's only open Wednesday through Sundays in the afternoon from 1 to 6. We'll come back to this guy in a minute. From 1 to 6. But you can see on the side there some of the different medals. And then they also have ones that, you know, if you're, you know, when you're the president of France, you get all these different ones. But they also have ones that they've bestowed on people from all over the world. It's really, really a beautiful place to visit. I don't know if they still have it, but they did have a special exhibit in there about some of the people working on Notre Dame. 100 of the workers from Notre Dame were recently in a ceremony given the award for the Legion of Honor. There's different ranks, but they didn't announce who, but I'm sure my beloved Philippe Villeneuve ended up having one. I'm sure he did. So, but it is a really cool place. You have the Spirit of Saint Michel, which is actually something that goes back even farther to the early Bourbon kings. But it's a really, really cool place to visit. So you can see Wednesday through Sunday, 1 to 6. And when I went in there recently, it was raining and I had my umbrella and I had my tote bag and I put it in my tote bag, but they made me give them my umbrella to hold. It was this, I still really don't understand why that was. But here on this side, you can see Orsay. So they are going to be starting, I believe sometime in this year, a massive restoration to the Orsay. We're going to redo the entryway here. There's going to be rolling closures, so every once in a while it's going to be closed for a few weeks at a time. They haven't really put out what that schedule is yet. I will definitely keep people updated when that is going to be. But it is such a beautiful building, and the back side of the building, not only was when it was a train station, it was kind of like the fanciest train station people had seen at the time, because it had one of the very first lifts. So you could put your luggage in there, and it had a little elevator. And the whole back side, on the Rue de Lille side, it was hotel rooms. And they were very fancy because the hotel rooms had their own bathroom. So I'm hoping that maybe there's a lot of offices here. There is a building a few blocks down the street that was donated to the Orsay, and they're going to redo it to put some of the offices in there and do a have a research library, which they do have here in the museum itself. But they're supposed to be doing that, and that's of course going to take years. I think it's just about 2 or 3 blocks down. And so I'm hoping that maybe that means that they will incorporate more of this space, because the footprint of the building is pretty huge, and what they use for the museum is a fraction of that. So that'll be pretty fantastic when they could do that. But here on this side, you could really see that it was hotel rooms. But down here, you could still look at the buildings on the right. Much, definitely older than the Orsay, the Gare d'Orsay. But the building fits right on into it. But I want to show you some of the sculptures. It is quite windy. It's always really windy up here. I don't know if it just comes in a funnel from the sun. But you have all these sculptures out here. There's 3 animals on the other side. And then you have these fantastic ladies. And these are all from the Universal exhibition that was at the Trocadero. And this was from 1878. And so they were saved. They were actually sent out to Saint Cloud, and then they ended up coming and being installed here when the museum opened in 1986. They're all done, these are all done by different artists, and they represent a different continent. So this one by Alexander Schoenwerk is of Europe. So you have the horse on the shield, and very Roman. And then I love, it has the caduceus of Mercury plus books and a palette for the arts. This one, I really love this one. This one is Asia by Alexander Falguière, and I love the big elephant on the back. It's just so cute. But they really are, and the elephant. I really love these. This is Africa by Eugène Delafin. So lots of this amazing produce. And a poor little turtle getting squished. Don't step on the turtle. This is North America. So you have Native American. And then on the oar, you see where it says Washington, Lafayette, Franklin, and Jefferson. And this one we have South America by Ami Millet. Millet is also the one that did the beautiful gold topped statue at the top of the Palais Garnier. And so you see where it says Peru, Chile, Colombia, and more amazing fruit there. And then this one, Oceana by Moreau Vautier with a kangaroo. But they are absolutely gorgeous. I love these. They're just here, guarding the museum. And then over on this side, gotta keep an eye on the time so I could get in. So a little thing about the Orsay while I'm walking by, they change these sometimes, so depending on when you're watching this, I'm doing this in March of 2025. If you don't have a ticket, you can stand in this line. Sometimes the not having a ticket line is almost faster than the people that have a ticket, because it'll be shorter. But I do recommend, if you are coming to Paris this year at all, even in the off season, if it is something you really want to see, buy your tickets in advance. And especially for the big three things, the Louvre, the Orsay, and Versailles, definitely get those tickets in advance because you could be out of luck. Tourism is much higher this year than it was last year. And even at the beginning even in February, it was bananas. So I love these guys here. So you have the elephant, and the elephant by Emmanuel Fremier. And he is also the one that did the Joan of Arc, the Golden Joan of Arc. That is over by the Louvre, just on the other side, on the right bank. He also did the Saint Michel at the top of the Mont Saint Michel. But look at the poor thing. He's tied up, and that scary monkey is screaming at him. And then over here, we have a rhinoceros and the horse, which they really are just beautiful. So the rhinoceros by Alfred Jacquemart. And they're massive. And the horse, I do love the horse. By Pierre-Louis Brouillard. I don't think they're being very nice to the horse or the elephant. This horse is not having it. But it is, here is the side of the building. It is just about 10 minutes before I go in. As a member, as I said, if you are coming to Paris and you love the Orsay and you want to spend more than one day here, I definitely recommend getting a membership, the Carte Blanche. It's pretty much cost what about 2.25 trips to the Orsay is. And the best thing is you get to go in at 9 a.m. As I said, 30 minutes before the general public. And once you have been in museums, when you were the only one there, it is very difficult to go back and do it any other way because it is just not fun. But it is fantastic, and if you could go into a museum and have it by yourself without any noise and talking and people running around, it is just a different experience, and the art really kind of almost speaks to you in a way that it can't when it's full of people. So I love it. But I'm going to pop in and go in there in a few minutes, and I'll share a little bit of the inside when it's just me and my 24 friends right there. Woohoo, the door's open on time for us. And I love, especially when it gets a little bit, when the sunrise gets a little bit closer to opening time. It's really fun to come in here and actually watch the sun kind of rise, but it's 9 o'clock, so you can see the sun peeking up. And down here on this lower part, this is where the tracks were. So there's tracks here, there's tracks below. The tracks below, some of them are still used for the area sea that goes underneath us. But we are on the bottom platform, so up above you can see all of that is original on the ceiling. But when they redid it to a museum, they added all of these sides here. So you have statuary down here. This is the Thomas Couture. It's called the Roman Decadence. Most people call it the Roman Orgy. I say it is the Wedding Feast of Cana by Veronese in the Louvre. This is the party a few hours later. But I think I want to come in here to see this new exhibit, but I'm going to quickly hop upstairs so I can show you the Impressionist room without anybody in it. I tried to do a live video from here a few years ago on a Sunday at 5, and I thought I was gonna hurl myself off the roof because I never come into a museum that late, and it was insane. Here you have the fantastic dance that was the original that was on the Palais Garnier. But if you pop back here, the back side, this is what I recommend everybody doing. If you come here, do this first. Go straight upstairs to the 5th floor, Impressionism. And you'll go up quite a few escalators. There's also an elevator on the other side. Here's the escalators. Oh, they're cleaning. I was gonna say we could take the, but watch, they're like magic. You turn on. Give me a minute and we'll be at the top. Okay, we're coming up to the top floor. The Orsay moves things all of the time. It is actually really frustrating because I will come in here to do some research or share it with a friend, and then I'm like, oh wait, that painting isn't here anymore, or this whole section has changed. So you come up here and go up these little steps. And this is before they open the gift shop. Now let me get this fixed. Nobody's here. Just me and the workers. Most of them recognize me, so when they see me coming, they're like, oh, it's just her. Bonjour. So here is the window from outside. Hear that noise? I love that. That's when the time is changing. But if you look straight through here, through the dirty window, you can see Sacré-Cœur. You see the Palais Garnier, of course, the Tuileries, and then the greatest museum in the world. I could see from one to the other. Oui? Okay. So this first room is my favorite because this painting right here, but it's also a collection of one gentleman named Etienne Moreau-Neleton. he had this massive collection. Part of it's in the Louvre in 2 rooms, and then there are 3 rooms, and then you have this first room here. This room is one of the ones that actually doesn't ever change because of his collection. He had this massive collection and that included Impressionists. And just like Caillebotte, when he wanted to give this collection to the state, they said, sure, but we don't want the Impressionism paintings. And he said, well, then you get nothing. So they had to accept it. And that's partially why it was acceptable to even start taking Impressionism. So you have this Manet's Déjeuner sur l'Herbe, one of the most famous paintings that he ever did. I can't use my gimbal in here, so I'm trying to hold this as still as possible. But this one I love because this is by Fantin Latour, and it's the Hommage to Delacroix after he died. And in this painting, you also have Whistler standing there looking at us. You have Baudelaire, Manet, the red hair. But I love, love, love this room. I'm just going to give you a quick walk through here because otherwise I could be up here sharing this with you for hours, but we could do it some more another time. And again, they move things all the time, so this is not, I haven't seen this here. They're going to do a big revamp of the museum as well. They're changing, and all the rooms are going to become themed, and I was on the advisory committee for that idea, and I basically said, no, don't do it. Because they're going to do things that are like, this was during the industrial period, and this is having to do with the climate, and this has to do with these things. And I spend a lot of time in here with people and around people, and I don't think people actually will take the time to read about that and why the room is set up that way. And also they're putting less and less information as far as what you could read. So here's another one of my favorites, Degas in the cafe with the young, most likely courtesan, prostitute with their glass of absinthe. It's also really noisy at this time because it's all the staff is like loudly chatting with each other. It's pretty quiet at the moment. Bonjour. I love the cleaner people. This is one of my favorites. Monet's turkeys. I love it. These cases are not normally here of Degas. I haven't been in here for a bit. Renoir's Dancer. The left is Suzanne Valadon. The one on the right is Eileen, who was later his wife. You have a lot of Pissarro, Sicily, a lot of things. Those walls are empty. I don't see where they've moved my favorite, Morisot. More Monet. I love this water lily. I love the colors. It's so vibrant. And of course the Cathedral Rouen. Another empty wall. The 5 of these being here at once, it's not happened in probably 2 or 3 years. Renoir. Degas. Trying to hold this as still as possible. And then of course, Van Gogh. And you see Starry Night. These used to always be called the Starry Night over the Rhone. Now it's just called the Starry Night, but this is not the Starry Night. And I also love this one because he loved the artist Millet, and he copied a lot of his paintings. And some of those paintings you can find Millet in both the Louvre and the Orsay because he straddles that time period. And then of course this one. Self-portrait. Oh, the door's opening. You can actually see out the window. They've been doing work on these out here, so the windows have been closed, covered up for a long time. Canal Saint-Martin in Paris. But here, they had this open. This terrace was open during the Olympics. So when during the Olympics and the Paralympics, because you had the cauldron down in the Tuileries, and so this would be open, and you could go out there and see it. But I don't know if it has not been open since. The cauldron is coming back, and it's going to be there in the garden again. Of course, not the Olympic torch, but the balloon itself. Cézanne. I love this one of Van Gogh, the Dr. Gachet. He was a doctor that took care of him in Auvers-sur-Loire there at the end of his life. And he gave his children gave his collection to the Orsay after he died. The roses in it. Bonjour. And I love a Monet chrysanthemum. But you come over here, and there's one more window in this cafe. This is the cafe where you could get, quiche and salads and coffees, and then there's a nicer restaurant downstairs. It's actually really fantastic. They do a great 3-course lunch every day. It's actually really pretty quick, but it's really beautiful during peak times of the day. Lunchtime, it gets pretty busy, but it's a great one to come to. But I'm going to leave you there because I am going to go check out the new exhibit. I can't wait. And I will bring you more next week. It gets really busy the next couple weeks, but I will bring you some more fantastic things in Paris. And I will see you soon.